And welcome to the Breakin Broncos podcast. I am your host, Dan Wetstein, and as always, I am here with my co-host, Dylan Miles. We are here to talk about your Denver Broncos and all the craziness that has happened over the last week since they got their coach, Sean Payton, which we talked about last Thursday. So we are back again, as we told you we would be, right here Monday night, 7 o'clock, a little bit later than normal because this guy over here thinks that he wants to be healthy or something.
Yeah, I don't know what it's all about.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Probably quit that here soon.
He's trying to work on that summer body. I guess he's going to the beach or something.
I'm going to Mexico in July, so.
Oh, okay, so there you go. Well, now, see, that is journalistic.
That wasn't a part of it. That came right after we started.
That's nice. See, that is journalism, guys. Ask questions, get answers, get facts, and bring them to you.
Whatever that guy's name was from that company, I don't remember. We were just talking about.
Yes, we are about to jump in. I am going to jump on some local media members. Again, I know I do this from time to time, but I truly believe in the watchdog having watchdogs. I believe in holding my fellow journalists accountable when they don't journalism. Like, that's the best way I could put it. Like, I don't do this because I want clout or I want to chase. If that was the case, I'd have 1 million followers by now. If this was the case, I do this because it's the right thing to do, to point out when people are just filling you with BS because they want your clicks and they want your views, as opposed to us give you a contrast, show you that we are not about the fanatical, we are not about the sensational, unless it is true. If something is sensational and it's factual and it's true, we'll bring it to you. We've done that. But at the same time, we are not going to create drama. We are not going to create this fake sense of entertainment that so many people seem to want. So if you want sports, news, and entertainment brought to you in a way that is factual and honest and not just trying to entice you with a fake headline and then give you a completely different story, we are going to bring it to you straight. And that's why it is important for me to point these things out. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off. Let me share my screen here with y'all real quick. I will show y'all the Twitter thread that I created because of this story. And what the story is that Russell Wilson has a personal QB coach and a personal training staff that goes with him, and how it was definitely a problem, even though there's only one report that said that it could be a problem. There's not a single report out there anywhere by anybody that says, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, and that's like the actually thing. The article isn't trying to spit it out too, that there is a problem, said that there could be.
Yes.
And everybody ran with it.
Yes, exactly. And that's the biggest problem here that I see. So here, finally, I got my screen sharing. Y'all should be able to see.
Boomer finally learned how to get it working.
It's the slow system here. Bite me. I know what I'm doing. Tell me you know how to share the screen here. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So
I don't know. I've never ran the stream.
Exactly. So there you go. While he's over here talking junk. All right. So this is the thread that I started because of this. Because again, I will bring up the articles because I'm not showing y'all that I'm making up things to make this guy look bad. This is the article right here. It literally says in the headline, QB coach could. It says in the freaking headline that could be, not I have a definite source that says that this guy does this, and this to get in the way. No, it just simply states that Russell Wilson was wrong for hiring him in the first place, while forgetting that Tom Brady has had a personal QB coach his entire 20-year career.
And also his QB that QB coach and his staff helped other players.
Yes, and Gutierrez with Tom Brady would help. Like you said, he was in the building just like this guy, but he was actually even more in the way, to the point where Bill Belichick kicked him out of the building in the last couple of years. But he ended up
it was
right
like
back in the building.
Those last
in
2
Tampa.
years.
Yeah,
those last 2 years of New England.
Yeah, but he ended up right back. So, but nobody
Super
talks
Bowl
about,
and a wild card loss.
Right. And the reason I bring that up is because his big thing in here was that Russell Wilson having this guy was a slap in the face of team football. Why wasn't it a slap in the face of team football when Tom Brady did it? I don't remember anybody talking about how ridiculous
Didn't
it
Breeze
was.
have one too?
I'm pretty sure every quarterback does. That's the point.
Yeah.
Every single quarterback, not all of them bring them into the building. I will give you that. But every single quarterback in the league has a personal quarterback trainer, because the new rules that were put in place about, 3-4 years ago, where it limited the contact between the players and the coaches on the NFL team. The NFL coaches, the coaches for the Broncos, can only have so many hours in the offseason where they have hands-on training with the players.
And that usually kicks into effect like right after the Super Bowl.
Yes, exactly. When it turns into OTAs, things of that nature.
Draft, training camp.
Right. Outside of those times, outside of the OTAs, like even during the draft, they're not allowed to talk to their players.
Right.
Outside of OTAs in the offseason, coaches are not allowed to contact players. So how do quarterbacks supplement the loss of training they used to get with their quarterback coaches in the offseason? They went and hired their own private coach. All of them have them. Not all of them bring them into the building, but there's more than Russell and Tom that have them in the building. Just nobody else talks about them because it's a non-factor. It doesn't matter. This is, again, people making shiz up.
Oh, you almost pulled me.
I almost did. I like how I saved that. But no, like, it's them literally making things up because they're really bad at their job. Like, this is what, like, I really hate calling people out about being bad at their job, like, but it's just obvious at this point.
Sometimes it's got to be done.
It's got to be done. It's obvious at this point. If you are this bad at your job, find another one. Like, I don't ever want to call, like, I know that it's supposed to be a brotherhood and we're all journaling and I'm not in this. I am not in this. I am not in this brotherhood. I will never be in this brotherhood that thinks it's okay to just pull crap out of your booty hole and put it on paper and then say, I had sources. Like, that's not okay. I will never be a part of that.
I have sources too,
I will
but
forever call
you
it
don't
out.
see me talking about it.
Right. We don't pull out sources every single time that we talk about a story. Like, we don't need to. You don't need to. There's a lot of things where you can just read the tea leaves and give people the information that's already out there, and that's good enough. You don't have to make things up. Like, that's one thing I hate about society in today. It's all about sensationalism. It's all about clickbait, catching people's attention for the wrong reasons. That's why I'm building the way that I'm building here at Tay 42. It's why that I have the people that I have with me. I chose every single person that sits next to me, just like Dylan, for a specific purpose, because I trust that they are going to handle the news, sports, and all this and bring it to y'all with the same integrity and the same care and love for the game that I do.
Speaking of clickbait, why are the Nuggets trending? I'm kind of scared.
Oh, dude, it could be a million reasons.
Did the bonus trade go through, dude?
Hello, how you doing?
I have to go look now on my phone. I'm curious.
All right, we'll see. Why are the Denver Nuggets trending? I'm actually already on Twitter. Let's go ahead and look together, guys.
They're on the right side there. You can look at trending.
Yep, trending Nuggets. There we go. I don't know where hell my eyes were looking there.
Oh, it's just like...
just
okay.
People talking about the Nuggets. Yeah, it's actually good things.
They're getting talked about for once, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, the Nuggets are open to conversations about Chris Duarte, Terrence Mann, and Alex Caruso. We will be talking about that on Wednesday.
I'm okay without Caruso, but those other two names I'd like.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Caruso, I wouldn't think would be a bad.
It's just the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries are there, but I mean, when he's on
not
the court,
I like me some Caruso, man, but he's injury prone.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're here to talk about the Broncos.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the Broncos. We'll talk about the Nuggets on Wednesday. So, and we'll talk about the specific trade deadlines and that on Wednesday with Amato. Unfortunately, we couldn't this weekend because he had issues and then I had technical issues. So we had to push it to Wednesday, but we will be with y'all and talking Nuggets on Wednesday with Amato. So be tuned in for that. Make sure you like and subscribe. Everything's down in the description. Hit the little bell so that way you get our notifications every time that we go live. And again, if you are here from Facebook and you're mad because we're not on Facebook anymore, well, again, I can't afford the upgrade to get to Facebook now. And because of my obligations, we are going out to YouTube with Let's Talk Sports YouTube. So make sure you go and check them out because they have a giant reach, much bigger than ours. So that way we get out more to more people, get more money. You get where we're going. Then we have our YouTube channel because I don't trust Twitter and we need to get our YouTube subscribers up. So if you are on YouTube and you are not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Again, hit the bell notification. That way you know every time we upload videos. And then we are going to Twitter, which is our largest audience by far. Yeah, by far. So go ahead. If you aren't at those, if you're here and you have people asking where we went, please pass it along. Let them know. We are here.
What a trending list. Actually, look at the rest of that trending list. Nuggets, Sean Payton, Buffs, something in between that I don't read. That I won't read. And then Celtics at Pistons, of course.
I just realized that. Yeah. Let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Right. Now we can talk about the first topic.
Right. We can go ahead and talk about the first topic. So that is how it is. So again, if y'all want to jump on that bandwagon, y'all like clickbait, go to them. But if not, make sure you come over to the Tape 42 fam, where we will not bring you the drama and the BS that is unnecessary. So now, back on to Broncos. Continuing here. Let's go ahead. Let's skip one. Let's go straight to two. Peyton filling out.
Oh, I had a good one for my favorite play, though.
Okay, well, I guess since you had a good one, we'll stop. We'll start.
I'm just going to do favorite play. We can skip the Rex.
Okay. Favorite moment play of the 2023 season?
Was the final game of the season definitely was it like the 57-yard pass down the sideline before halftime?
Are you talking about the one? Off
one leg.
Off one leg, 53 yards in the air to Judy. Perfect pop. I love that. That's a great play.
That or the Latavius Murray 50-yard touchdown run.
Yeah. I would also say there might be a tie for me. I like the fact that two guys on their first touch of the NFL got a touchdown for the Broncos.
Oh yeah,
Jalen Virgil and Tyler Batty. Those are two of my favorite moments.
The Batty one was awesome.
Yes, it was the screen pass that he took. It was like watching a smaller, faster version of CJ Anderson against the Raiders. That's what it reminded me of. That and the Marlon Mack screen pass, the 67-yard.
Oh, that Raiders game, that second Raiders game was the one that hurt the most for me that season. The overtime loss.
Oh God, yes, yeah, that was terrible. But staying current, Sean Payton, he's filling out his coaching staff. So first up on the docket that I think is honestly, I don't know about you, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think is probably the least important position on the coaching staff, and that is offensive coordinator.
Oh,
Why
definitely.
do I say that? Because Sean Payton's calling the plays. Sean Payton is going to create the game plan. Sean Payton is going to draw up the plays. What I would like to see is a guy that might be an extra position coach, because I think that's one thing that they can steal. They can have technically two offensive line coaches or two quarterback coaches or two wide receivers coaches, etc. on the
I know who I would like to see for that if it's an extra position. I would like to see a running backs guy. Now that I forgot the running back coach's name, and I feel bad because he did a hell of a job while he was there. That left for that coaching job, but I just forgot.
You're talking about Tyrone Wheatley?
Mm-hmm. Tyrone Wheatley.
He's gone. He's got a head coach.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying he's gone. I would like to see a running back coach come in. That could be an OC and double maybe. Because especially with the backs
why not have both? Why not have a running backs coach
you get both.
and then an OC? So
you get an OC that used to be a running back or running back coach, especially look at the core that they're gonna have next year. They're gonna have
But I think I have a situation that you might like even more. Okay. What if they're able to go out and get Doug Maroney and Mike Munchak?
Ooh,
two of the best offensive line
either
coaches.
Or. I'd take either of them if we can get both.
Right, they're two of the better offensive line coaches. I mean,
Sean
Doug
Payton's
Maroney
definitely
was the offensive line coach.
Munchak. He's got to be considered
Munchak and Maroney. Because Maroney
look
was
where
the
Munchak
guy that
is in Denver.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, exactly.
Look where Munchak is. He's in Denver just hanging out with his family. I mean, and he probably wouldn't mind coming back, especially with a coach like Sean Payton. The way the team's looking forward, he's still got Russell Wilson and guys that he's been coaching that are still there. I think
Right,
every
exactly.
offensive lineman that was there, except for maybe no Kush would have been there for Munchak.
Yeah, I
Every
think
one
the
of
only ones
those,
that went were the new ones this year: Billy Turner, Tom Compton, and the other guy. I can't remember his
and
name.
those
But he
years he
doesn't
was
matter.
there, the line was the best it ever was since 2015, or
Oh,
not
most
even
definitely.
15.
And then
15 was awful.
like
I'd say
the
14.
reason I bring up Maroney is Maroney was actually the offensive line coach for the New Orleans Saints when Sean Payton first got the job up
I think he
down
might have
in
been
New
there for that
Orleans.
Super Bowl season.
He was. He
Yeah,
was. He was the
he
offensive.
was
That
there
was
for that
what got
first year.
him. That's what got him the head coaching job at Syracuse. That's where he
right.
went to Syracuse, took Nathaniel Hackett with him, and then became his OC in Syracuse. And then he became the head coach of Jacksonville, again, bringing Nathaniel Hackett with him there. I know
forgot Maroney was. I forgot Maroney was that head coach of that Jacksonville team that made the title game.
Yep, that made the title game with Blake Bortles.
Dude, I saw a picture that real quick. While we're talking about this, that threw me off. It's just you had to live through it for it to not look weird. It was Championship Sunday 2018. It was Tom Brady, Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, and Case Keenum. Those were the four remaining quarterbacks. A legend and
Isn't
three.
That insane? that
Dude, we could have had a Blake Bortles Case Keenum Super Bowl if it wasn't a Foles.
Wouldn't
Brady.
that have been insane? That would have been like Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson back in the day.
Right.
Like that's like a clone of those.
Who was that quarterback for that Giants team that Trent Dilfer played against? But that's not a big name.
Oh, Kerry Collins.
Oh, Kerry Collins. Yes, okay, that was a pretty big name though.
That was my brother-in-law's like favorite player because I think he went. Did he go to Nebraska or something?
I think he was it was somewhere around there. Like,
yeah, because like my brother-in-law's a Nebraska fan, and like for some reason he fell in love with Kerry Collins. I don't remember exactly what it is with them though, but I remember it was Kerry Collins.
Nebraska fans fall in love with
my brother-in-law was absolutely. He's like, oh my god, my favorite guy is good. Oh, I know why, because they're both named Kerry. That just of course.
Dude, one of my favorite things about Nebraska, like that I've been loving about
click until now.
Prime being in CU is Prime has been just stealing Nebraska commits.
Right.
And then I just send them to my buddy who's a Nebraska fan and he just gets pissed.
Oh, it's great. I got them in my family, bro. I got multiples in my family that are Nebraska fans.
It's literally around here. It's Broncos football, whatever, the Holyoke Athletic and Nebraska football.
Because y'all are so close to
I work in Nebraska.
Right, you work in the damn state.
I had to cut promos this year for the pregame show.
And I grew up in Sterling, so right there.
We could cut off the corner here. It's just Nebraska.
Essentially. I mean,
I'm glad it's Colorado. Dude, it's so weird though with the bag tax now here. And then I go to work there, and then it's just like I was like, I don't want to pay for bag. They're like, you don't have to. I'm like, right? Oh yeah, I just drove to Nebraska. I'm not in Colorado.
I forgot. I only got to drive 10 minutes before I'm in a whole nother country. Essentially, Nebraska is like its own little country. It really, I'm sure it does. I can only imagine the one liberal in Nebraska.
Nice. I do like Imperial though. It's a nice little town.
I bet it is. Little towns are usually quaint.
I get that for lunch.
It's a Pizza Hut, so it makes it okay.
It makes it okay. There's a Subway there, but we have a Subway, so.
I got you. That's great. That's great. They got a Pizza Hut, so it's cool. It's cool.
It's cool.
Everything else is
They don't have a buffet, though. But
back to offensive coordinators. Who is your favorite and potentially most likely if they're different?
Nathaniel Hackett. No, I'm joking. He's already a Jet. So
he's already got a job, so we're done there.
And dude, is that another attempt at Aaron Rodgers? I just want to say that. But I don't know.
Wants to jump. I hate that. I'm sorry.
See, those two names though were just perfect that you just said. I do like that idea, but I'm just trying to think of offensive coordinator names out there right now that would take a job.
Gave you a list.
You did give me a list.
Boy,
you know what's funny is I opened it.
I gave you 5 names.
You know what's funny?
5 names, and you can't pick one.
Is you opened it? Is I opened it? I mean, and I just didn't read it.
Opened it. Words are hard, guys. Words are hard.
Because I opened it, then it was just like dinner was ready, so I was like, all right, and then I just forgot about it.
Yeah. To me, honestly, I think.
Ooh, there's a name I like.
Since you're looking, I'm going to go ahead and give mine. My favorite is David Shaw. I would love to see him as an offensive coordinator, get underneath a coach that everybody respects, and hopefully get some deserved pub to possibly become a head coach in the NFL. I love the way his teams always played in Stanford. They're always hard-nosed, grind it out.
Even with losing records, they out
mouth.
there and played, gave their all.
And him and like what he did with McCaffrey, especially Christian McCaffrey out there at Stanford, was stupid. Like, he knows what he's doing offensively. I think he could add something to the line. And then I think either or of a Munchak or a Maroney at offensive line would be absolutely epic. I think any one of those. But I think the most likely is also David Shaw. Like, I think he's the most likely. I think the home run hires would be Maroney and Munchak together. But if you just got David Shaw, I don't see how you can have an issue with that.
Yeah, that man made the guy, like, if anybody has ever seen any Christian McCaffrey highlights when he was at Valor, and then you look at it at Stanford, like, he was amazing at Valor, but he was different, like unbelievably different at Stanford.
He was Heisman worthy.
I know,
at Stanford.
And no nominations, but we'll leave it at that. Looking at
right.
Looking at, there's two names here that stand out for me. The first one's Aaron Cromer. And I was reading about Cromer the other day.
Okay.
I can't believe I didn't think about him when I was thinking of overseas. It was they were tied together, him and Payton, back in New Orleans. I think it was from like, it says it here, 08 to 2012.
There you go.
He was his interim head coach while Sean was suspended for Bountygate. He was there for the Super Bowl, and he was an assistant coach, so he was around Payton all the time. And I mean, if you have somebody he has great chemistry with, and if he's not calling plays, what he's really doing is just help put together the game plan. I think that's a perfect fit. And especially a guy that stood in for you, an interim head coach, and you got to be pretty close after that, right? I feel like that'd be a perfect fit. Or yeah.
I mean, he's even got experience heading a franchise.
Yeah.
So, there's all those little nice little things. I definitely, I would not be mad at an Aaron Cromer, because again, honestly, I don't think it really matters. To be honest, like if you can steal a great coach as an offensive coordinator, that's awesome.
Right.
But with Sean Payton, I don't think it really matters that much.
And then the other one I'm looking at is John Morton, another one that was with him with the Saints, but he was there only in 2006 and then 2015. He was only there for 2 different seasons. But that 2006 team, he was the wide receivers coach, and he was the passing game coordinator in 06.
And he was the senior offensive assistant for the Detroit Lions this year, the number 1 offense in the league.
That's so insane.
Yeah, I know. Still, the Detroit Lions
didn't even make the playoffs,
right?
Hey, they were close. They did destroy, year, though,
but they did something better. They stopped Aaron Rodgers from getting in. Yeah. So
always cheer for the Lions.
I think we can both agree. David Shaw, Doug Maroney would be great. John Morton and
that's
Aaron
just
Cromer,
like a throw-in pick. If
you had those two guys, they're definitely in there. I think they definitely are going to end up on the squad. Like I think that both of those guys will end up with a job, because they're both free agents right now. So whether they end up as offensive coordinator or maybe one of their old jobs, like Aaron Cromer, I think was the the passing coordinator. Or he was the assistant coach and assistant head coach and interim coach.
Yep.
And then Morton was the passing game coordinator. So they could definitely take those titles in Denver. If Payton decides he wants a Maroney or a Shaw, and then he gets them all 5 of these guys have a potential. This is what's insane, is because of the pull of Payton, because of the pull of Russ, because of the pull of the Walton Penner Group, and being able to pay anybody whatever the hell they want to pay them. They will be able to pick and choose whoever he wants.
I can't believe people are worried about money on this team.
Oh my God. Yes, please, people, for the millionth time, money doesn't matter anymore. This is
Dude, not... even with people just stealing a bunch of crap from Walmart, they're still making billions.
Nobody can, it doesn't affect them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they are good. They are good. We have a owner who is the richest owner in all of sports except for 2 teams. One's a cricket team that's owned by an Indian billionaire.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God.
And then another
rich.
one is it's some soccer team that's owned by a billion. And both of those guys, like I say only in quotation marks, or heavy quotation marks, they're only a couple billion more richer than our guy. So
right. It's
not
so
by
weird when you
much.
say that. It's just only a couple. Like,
Right, it's only a couple. That's
but I'm
why
sitting here like, dude, that's like a couple I don't
air
have.
quotes.
That is a couple of billion I do not have.
We'll probably never see.
Right.
But you know, that's just. I mean, that's
Yo,
that's
100,000. I'll take it.
That's
I'll take it.
When you get into that type of money, I know it sounds crazy to be like only a couple billion, but though to those guys, that's the insanity. That's it. It's
dude,
only
they spent 4.5 on the Broncos like it was nothing, dude. That was
pulled
just
it out his pocket, bro.
Yeah, dude. He just pulled out, dude. He just pulled out the money
clip
and
the
slapped
bank.
it on the damn table. Just
he just went to the family safe and's like, here you go.
Dude, that thing just sounded. Dude, that thing just
we were
was
gonna
just
buy a
brick.
yacht with this tomorrow, right?
Like that was just a brick
here.
dropped on the table. You just said, "Here you go."
Right. Bloop. It's like who wants it? Because like, and they only stopped at 4.5 because everybody else stopped. Like they were gonna keep going,
bro.
They were not
they would have
going
top
to
6
be outbid.
Guaranteed, they top 6 if they had to.
Oh, if they had to, yeah. But everybody else ran out of money at $4.5 billion,
and that's what makes me happy.
And they were gonna just keep going.
And like, that's what showed me when they bought the team is that they wanted to do something with the team. It's not that they just wanted to buy it, not like the Mumfors.
I mean, they live here, they grew up here.
Right.
I mean, their daddy started the business in a couple states.
And listening to Greg today
Arkansas.
was Greg Penner, dude. What a guy! That guy knows how to talk to the media.
Yes, he does. And well, I mean, when you get that rich, you're taught, he's got all the training in the world. Like, yes, if he didn't speak, if he was terrible at it, then we would. Right, exactly. Then you would know something's wrong. He's not a Mark Davis. This isn't Mark Davis. This isn't Jim Irsay that we're talking about here, guys. These aren't guys that the majority of their money comes from the team. Mm-hmm. This ownership group has all of their money outside. Whatever they get from the Broncos is just like whatever, bro.
I was gonna say most NFL owners are getting their money from the teams, except for a few. And who would even that few be? It wouldn't be the Hunt family. The Hunt's just Chiefs only.
Yeah, no. The ones that would be like there's very few. There's Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones.
He still gets.
Is it Kraft?
Yeah, Kraft is one. The Walton Penner Group here in Denver. The Tapper, Jason.
Oh, David Tepper.
Yeah, David Tepper.
Panthers owner.
Panthers, and the owner Shahad Khan. The
Jaguars.
Of the Jaguars. Like those.
Dude, that guy's great. Did you see that clip of him sleeping when they were losing by 30, and he woke up after the second touchdown in the second half? Everybody's just cheering, and he's just like face down on the table, and he just.
Oh man!
And then he just starts clapping.
Very, very greatness. All right, so moving on to the next coach here.
Be right back.
Oh, you're good. So we're gonna move on. We already talked about O-line coaches, offensive coordinators, most likely defensive coordinators. We had one come off the board today. It was a bit of a weird one that a lot of people were talking about. Was the fact that Brian Flores, they had requested an interview with Brian Flores, the guy that just sued the Broncos a year ago. I mean, it kind of shows that there must not be any bad blood left in the building because the only one left from that lawsuit is John Elway, and he's in a much smaller capacity. So even the fact that they asked has to show that there's just not any bad blood left in the building. And I think it was a good faith kind of thing. I don't think that it was really underhanded, as some people want to put it, is like it was undermining Brian Flores. I think it was more of they were legitimately like, hey, look, man, I looked like you had a really raw deal before. How about you come get an interview? We'll make you the DC of a really good,
and the fact that he accepted it.
Right, and he accepted it. He was supposed to interview tomorrow. That was supposed to be his interview.
The Vikings,
but it looks like, they swooped in. They're like, we are not giving the Walton Penner Group a chance. Because I honestly believe that it just came down to the fact that the Broncos were able to outbid everybody and pay Sean Payton more than anybody else was willing to. And so Sean was like, hey, look, I want to go to the Broncos because they're going to give me the most money. And that's how things kind of unfolded.
What a dog that the Vikings just got for the 31st ranked defense. They had I think their offense was ranked 3 or 4. They were in the top 5.
Something like that.
I'm pretty sure they were top 5.
You're talking about
the Vikings.
Vikings? Oh, yeah. They had a terrible secondary last year.
But their offense was like top 5. But then the defense is what lost them that game against New York.
Yeah.
And
it was funny,
and they're gonna
was the first one-score game they had lost all year. They were
which is crazy. I was rooting for the Vikings because it's like
fight like
Kirk was finally popping off.
Right. Finally get over that hump, get that monkey off his back like Steve Young, kind of thing. But
Next year,
nope.
dude, Kirk's back,
Kirk,
dude. I'm telling you.
Kirk just can't. He just can't win when it matters, man.
But also,
I don't
you know
know
what's
what
funny
it is with that man, but he just folds under the lights.
if that defense held them that, especially on that big fourth down that the Giants converted early to, I think, score one of their first couple of touchdowns. If they stop them there, they win that game.
Yes, most definitely. I agree.
But
I think
there's
that
two big
defense is
DCs off the board right now too.
Brian Flores' defenses in Miami were ridiculous, and he is one of the most creative blitzers I've seen in a long time. Like, he is on par with Vic Fangio, Wade Phillips, and Wink Martindale. Like, those three guys, and then Brian Flores, I think, are the four most creative blitz creators in the league. Like, they just create some of the best disguises.
Oh, dude,
it's one of the reasons why Vic Fangio gave so much trouble to Patrick Mahomes and company, is that the defense would look one way pre-snap, and then as soon as the ball snapped, all of a sudden it's a completely different defense.
Right.
And now he doesn't know where to go with the ball.
That's where I think Vic doesn't get enough credit when he was here, though, right? Like, of course, like, he had to go, but he deserved a lot of that credit for that defense, because that defense was something else. So even when he was here.
Yeah, now that we're looking at Sean Payton, definitely. All of them had to go. I mean, can we honestly have any argument that any coach since Gary Kubiak deserves to be in this place besides?
And dude, who knows how
Payton?
long Gary would have been there if he didn't have to retire to health reasons?
Right. Exactly.
That was like the most disappointing
Kubiak, there's
morning,
another
dude.
one. Clint Kubiak's already on the squad. He could be the offensive coordinator.
He could be the OC.
Him.
And
you know, that would,
and that wouldn't even hurt, though, for Clint to be it.
But speaking of DCs, right now, after Brian Flores going to Minnesota, there's only one other candidate that they have actually asked to speak with, and that is Sean Desai.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez, where did he come from? Oh,
Seattle.
I forgot where he came
from. He's
Seattle.
coming from Seattle. He just spent his first season in Seattle.
Yes, assistant coach to Pete Carroll in Seattle. So that's right now the only other candidate outside of possibly in-house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, as of right now, I have no other leads on anybody else. I asked.
As I said, the top two were Flores and him.
Yeah, that was it. There wasn't just a top two. That was the two. That's it.
I was gonna say, and like that's where, and now it's kind of gonna lean for it. Is it just gonna be Desai?
Right? Like, are they just gonna interview Desai? Is there somebody maybe internally, somebody that was on maybe Evero's staff, because they did release Evero? I know last time we spoke, we talked about how they just had to. They didn't just let him explore.
Oh yeah, he went to Carolina. Yeah,
he's gone.
Well, I mean, they allowed him to explore, and then he left Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. So they released him.
Such a loss,
Sunday.
Dude. I wish
yesterday
would have stayed.
Especially now that Brian Flores is off the board. I'm 100% agreeing that I wish.
But here's the thing. I think no matter who you put under there, that defense is going to go all out for them. They go to war for their coordinator, though.
I don't want to say anybody, though, because
as
we've seen, coaching's important.
True.
Like, I don't think it's just like, yes, there is a lot of talent, but if you don't know how to use that talent, it doesn't matter how much talent you have.
Dude, who knows? You might just throw a wild card out of nowhere. Like,
I mean,
Fangio off the board too.
I mean, there's also the possibility, like, Dom Capers is on this staff.
Yeah,
great defensive mind. It just depends on whether or not he wants a bigger load. Last year, he was just a consultant. He never traveled with the team, etc. He's old. Like, the dude's pushing 80. So while he is still a great mind, he's still sharp. I'm not so sure he wants that full-time job. So really, outside of Desai right now, that's all we have for y'all. We were going to debate who would be better, but Flores decided to take that debate away from us. So right now we're just going to
good for him, though.
Desai.
He's got some dogs on that defense there that I know he could turn
work
around.
with that he's never had to work with as a defensive coordinator or a head coach. So I see big things happening for the Vikings in that defense with Brian Flores.
Defense was championships, though.
But Broncos defense, more important to this podcast, is Sean Desai. His credentials, like, they're not going to blow you away. He's been an assistant coach here and there, but guess what? Evero didn't blow you away last year, did he?
Nope.
He didn't. But now you love him. Now you're mad he's gone. So just because a guy doesn't have an exciting resume doesn't mean he can't do
Hey,
the
we
job.
knew what that guy was capable of. We saw those linebackers or what was
Right.
he? Defensive back coach.
A little bit of a thing here is that Sean Desai worked under Brian Flores in Miami.
Ooh, yeah, that's right.
So there is that bit of a connection too. So we will keep you updated. Watch our Twitter. That's going to be where we put up most of our updates, and you will get the news fastest. Is if you do go and follow our Twitter. We're at currently 5,020 followers because we gained an extra 20 followers today. So thank you guys. We appreciate y'all. Again, by far the largest audience we have. Also with Twitter, people, if you are watching, I cannot see your replies. I try to keep the Twitter up here so that I can see. I will double check right now because I feel y'all do deserve to get recognition if you did ask questions, but they do not get put in here. So I can't put them on the screen, but I am right now looking to see if y'all have any questions just to see if I can answer any. And no, you don't, but I do appreciate the likes. So we do appreciate that, guys.
Hey, are you ready to move on to this next one? Because this is one I'm excited to talk about when I read it.
Let's go ahead.
When you sent it to me this afternoon.
Okay, so you're talking about the special teams coordinator?
Mm-hmm. And I already know. Right. I think we both agree on who we want here before we say anything, right?
I think pretty much everybody's going to know, but we'll give them both candidates, and then we'll let them. And both will be familiar. Both will be very familiar. They are Jerry Rosburg,
our dog, our boy.
Coach. Our boy just got them the final win at the end of the season against the Chargers and Herbert and their starters. So nobody can take that win away from the Broncos. They earned that legitimately. And Joe DeCamillis, who was the special teams coordinator when the Broncos won the Super Bowl.
Hey, look who he had to work with then too. And that special teams wasn't that bad.
It was good. It was Trendon Holiday, Jordan Norwood.
No. You're thinking of when they won the Super Bowl. That's Jordan Norwood.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying he worked with both of them.
Oh, okay. So I was like, what are you talking? You said it was
Joe DeCamillis worked with both of them. Sorry, yeah. No, he worked with, I'm saying he worked with, to give people examples of like how explosive his special teams were. So they're both legitimate. Joe is a bit younger. He's still, up there in age. He's in his 50s or 60s, but Rosberg's in his 70s.
But for coordinator age, younger.
yeah, exactly. So I'll let you go ahead. I'll let you go ahead and say who's your favorite and most likely.
I want to say Rosberg is, because look what he did with the team for the final 2 weeks. That team put up over 26 points both games under Jerry Rosburg as interim head coach. Special teams was the best it ever was the entire season in those final 2 games. I mean,
by far.
And the guy just demanded respect in the locker. He didn't really demand respect. He earned respect in the locker room. Just over the course of when he was hired as a game management, just a game manager. And then now when he was that interim head coach, by then he had just
his title was game management consultant. Stupid title, but yeah, that's what it was.
But yeah. But even if he doesn't get the special teams job, I hope to see him in the building. And from what it sounds like, we will probably see him in the building because, even though his contract ended for just his game management coordinator or consultant, game management.
Exactly.
Oh my God, dude. What a title. But from what he did under there, I would love to see him either coordinator or somewhere in the building. But either of these choices I'd be happy with.
Right. So now that we're on this, we're going to start bringing in some video here for you guys of Sean Payton's opening presser where he talked about some of these things. And then we're going to give you our reactions to what these are. So first up is I had talked to you all on Thursday about how it just both Thursday and Wednesday, both with Dylan and with Bill on Let's Talk Sports, is that I told you all it was obvious Sean Payton needed to get back in coaching. And
I know what you're saying.
Not only did he need to get back in coaching, the wifey thought he did too. So this is Sean Payton on why he returned to coaching.
Thank my family that's here. My wife, Skylene, she's, someone's going to ask the question, why'd you get back in, Coach? And so maybe I can answer that right now. Skylene, when you work only Sundays in the Fox studio, and then you have Monday through Saturday, there's a point at which she looked at me and said, when are you getting back to work, buddy?
So
That was
the
good.
wifey was getting annoyed. Not only was Sean Payton annoyed with the fact that he wasn't working 60 to 80 hours a week, the wifey and Miss Payton was like, bro, I need you out of the house because you're driving me nuts.
And
So
how
not
about
only-
his kids both being there? The one from the star of the
Yes.
Netflix movie.
Right. The kid, the
God,
boy,
dude.
yep, all grown up.
That's our
all
coach
grown
now,
up
dude. Just
Yep,
he
that's
played
our
the
coach.
janitor.
Yes, the janitor from the movie. And the kid and the little boy that was on the team, and he's all grown up now, and he is actually working in front offices. He's looking to become a scout and then potentially a GM.
I was gonna say
And
he's
then
working now over at TCU right now.
Yep, he's at TCU. That's correct. So he's trying to get into scouting, and then he wants to become a GM. His daughter is a journalist major, and she is looking to become one of us.
Future Denver journalist.
I love the way that he put it is that his son's looking to fire coaches, and his daughter's looking to cover the hiring and firing coaches. So that was a great way.
That's great though.
But yeah, I love that he confirmed. Like I never heard the what I was talking with Bill on Let's Talk Sports last Wednesday. I never heard the interview that he had where he was talking about how he wanted to get back in coaching, and like that would have been a confirmation. But like I could just see it on him
how about
every Sunday.
The reveal that how he was teasing with the orange ties over on Fox.
Yes, revealed it all. He confirmed.
Do you have a clip of that? Did I ruin it?
No, I don't have a clip.
Okay,
no.
I brought something good to the table for once.
Yes, you did. You did bring something different.
I thought that was funny though. He was like, "Yeah," and it was during like those 6 days of where they've been like negotiating the trade.
Right, and like the reason that we're bringing these two is we want to give some context not only to what we said, but to what you all worry about. And so one of the big worries is people like, "Oh, how is he going to fill out this staff?" Yada yada yada. Well, here is Sean Payton talking about how he created his staff in New Orleans right after Hurricane Katrina.
But ultimately, it's what we do during the season. That's how we're measured. And so, from experience, having gone through this one other time, in 2006, there were tarps on our walls. The team had just come back from San Antonio. The hospitals weren't open. Our problems then were so much different. And so for us, for a short period of time, as we hired staff and coaches, we'd celebrate each one like we'd have a cake if we got a coach to say, yes, he's coming. First there was 3, then there was 5, and then we slowly put a staff together, and I'll never forget that group.
I love that, and I lost my cam. I'm currently fixing it.
You're all right. We're going to go quickly into another video here real quick, so don't worry about it. So that's him talking about how it was difficult to create a staff.
I mean,
not
imagine
an all-star staff. Just a staff after Hurricane Katrina.
I mean, just imagine trying to do that. Like you said, no hospitals. Him and the GM were the only people at the airport.
At the airport, yes. Him and Mickey Loomis. That was it.
Just imagine, and they didn't even get to play in the Superdome until like week 3 or 4, I think. And that was the block.
They their first 2. Yeah. They played
all
4. All 4 freaking preseason games on the road. And the first 2
essentially
games
they were 6 weeks on the road.
Yes,
but I love that though. And for a team that didn't have a stadium until week 3, made it to the NFC Championship game and barely lost to the Bears.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
with a nobody coaching staff.
So and the reason I showed that is because if he was able in that circumstance, with all that was going wrong around him, able to create a Super Bowl winning staff, what do you think he's going to do with the money and the power and the prestige of the Denver Broncos franchise here in Denver when he was able to do that with the Aints? They were still the Aints when he got there. So here's Sean Payton talking about the most important factors he looks for in his staff.
Look, everyone has a job to do, and they all tried to jump inside what I was looking for. On one of the Fox broadcasts, I said it pretty clearly. Ownership was important to me. I had been exposed to a great ownership group in New Orleans, and I think it's appropriate for me to thank Mrs. Benson. Obviously, her late husband, Tom Benson, was the owner when I first arrived there, and then the general manager, Mickey Loomis. So what I knew for 16 years was functional wasn't easy, but it was functional and it was supportive and it was respectful and it was teamwork at its best. And that was Mickey Loomis, who I didn't know at the time, who later became a very close friend, and then Mr. Benson and Mrs. Benson. That triangle to me was most important in this process.
That's a good answer too. And the Benson family, great ownership group too. Great owners.
And this was, and I'm sorry, I do apologize. I set up that video wrong. This was in response to the reporting that Sean Payton felt that there was a power struggle in the Broncos front office, and that he didn't want to come to Denver because they didn't have a strong front office and ownership group. And this was him responding, saying that no, the most important factors, the reason I chose Denver was because of how great the trio of the ownership group, the GM, and the fan base were.
And you know what I think is going to be great and people aren't thinking about, Greg Penner and George Payton are going to listen to him. They're going to give him anything he needs to help get this team back on track. Like they're going to like no budget. They're going to throw as much money out. Yeah. There's
exactly. No budget. No budget.
For how much money they have, there's no in the NFL, very expensive league and business is pocket change to them.
Yeah. They are the only team that can literally say there is no budget.
Yeah.
There's none. The money is endless. When you get into the tens of billions, let alone $70 billion, bro, you cannot no human can really compute that amount of money.
Yeah,
and it's insane.
It's
guys.
awesome,
like,
though.
It is awesome, but just stop thinking about money. Please, everybody in Broncos country, stop talking about money. Yes, there is a salary cap, but that thing can be finessed like no other.
You saw what the Rams did.
About it. Right. And their owner, Stan Kroenke, who's still rich, has nothing on our owner.
He's in the top five richest owners, right?
Top five. Yeah, and he has nothing on the Penner Group. Like, that's the insanity of the amount of money that the Broncos owners have. There is no limits, guys. This is straight up no limit soldier type stuff. This is
going to be such a fun offseason. Like, we were excited for last offseason, right? Just wait till this offseason. There's going to be you're going to recognize some names on this team that they're going to sign in free agency in come March.
Yes, it's going to be absolutely. I mean, yes, the Broncos technically right now only have $12 million in cap space. But just by making 5 simple moves, they could make that almost $30 million in cap space. And that's without cutting any starters. That's just cutting guys that either are old, like Graham Glasgow, that doesn't really matter. Chase Edmonds, who was a nice little,
hey, he had a nice couple of games.
He was all right, but I'm not sure I want to pay him $4 million next year.
No.
Like, I don't know.
If we're paying any backs, if we're going to pay any running backs out of the two, it's going to be between Latavius Murray and Chase Edmonds. It's going to be Latavius Murray.
Yeah, because it's going to take like a 1-year veteran.
Now imagine that running back tandem, dude. Javonte, dude, just at the front, number one back. And then you got Latavius that can come in when you need him to, and he's going to run the ball down their throat. And that's what Sean Payton talked about. I think it was back when he signed him, before he signed. I think it was either a Fox bit or when he was on Colin Cowherd, one of the two. I'm not sure which show it was. He talked about how you're going to use the running game. You want to take a lot of that pressure off of Russ, because they just relied on Russ all last year. And that's where all the mistakes started to come in. Because he was,
especially after Javonte Williams went,
especially when Javonte went down.
Yeah, before Javonte, they were more into the running because they could split it up between Melvin and Javonte,
and they were moving the sticks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But after that, yes, they had to lean on Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
much more than what they wanted
on a hurt shoulder, throwing shoulder.
Yeah, because there was just no other guys. Like we just talked, Latavius Murray, who was 35 years old. Name the last 35-year-old running back you remember getting any touches, let alone the majority of touches on an NFL squad. That was Frank Gore. Yeah, thank you.
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, but I mean that's it. That's
Yeah.
3 guys out of the thousands of running backs that have run through
Dude,
the
Frank
NFL
Gore,
just
dude,
the
that
last
guy was
couple
in the league
years.
for like 50 years.
I swear I didn't think he was ever going to leave. I'm
The
still
NFL
sad he
memes are
fought
so great.
freaking
When he
Jake
retired
Paul.
finally, there was one where it was like, here's Latavius Murray back in his rookie season, circa 1940.
Yep, exactly. So, like all those things, all that insanity. Like, stop worrying about that stuff, guys.
His son's
They're
almost
going
in
to
the
get
league, too.
whoever they want. Like they've just proved it with Sean Payton. Like we told you that's who they wanted, and no matter what, they never wavered and they kept fighting. And until they got the guy, they never gave up.
And
They
you
got
heard
their
how they
guy.
talked about him too. They were there like at breakfast time, like hours before the meeting was supposed to start.
Right.
It shows
And-
you they cared, and that was the guy from day one. Sure, there was some discussion with D'Amico, but he wasn't the number one guy, and
Right.
that showed.
And since we're on this fact of like people talking and consternating about why the Broncos don't know what they're doing, here is Sean Payton talking about exactly why it took so long for all this to materialize.
Was the complication relative to compensation for me to become available through the Saints? And that's, again, I go back to thanking Mrs. Benson, Dennis Lauscher, the president there, is a great friend and ally, and Mickey Loomis, and then Mickey and George. I mean, George and I would speak like, for a period of 3-4 days, this went on, the negotiations.
How about that, dude? Peyton and Peyton.
Peyton and Peyton.
We got
And
3 different
and
Peytons with 3
and
different
how about
spellings.
the fact that like he called out Peyton's
Right.
last name, talking about it's spelt like Patton, but it's Peyton. And speaking of the reason that Sean Payton knows that we really got to start using both names now with the 3 Peytons we have in Denver, so that
Yeah.
people understand who we're
You
talking
gotta
about.
learn. You gotta spell
Sean
it right
Payton talking. I know, right? And know which one you're talking about. How
now. Right?
it's ridiculous. But yes, Sean Payton talking about how him and George Payton, like I did not realize their roots. Like if I would have known this, I never would have talked about freaking Dan Quinn the way I did.
Right?
These
I
dudes
never
go
heard
back
of this.
to I'm neither. These guys go back to Sean Payton's redshirt freshman year at San Diego State.
George Payton's redshirt freshman.
George Payton's freshman year. Sean Payton was a graduate assistant on San Diego State squad, handing out Gatorades and sandwiches, while Troy Aikman was the senior quarterback at UCLA on the other side at the Rose Bowl. And about how they lost like 40-something to 3, but he didn't care because it was so awesome just to be on the sidelines.
And he said that a ball didn't touch the ground with Troy Aikman, dude.
Those roots are ridiculous. Like, they've known each other for like, what is it now? It'd be almost 25 years at this point?
Almost 30.
Yeah, pushing on 30. Like, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have even entertained anybody else.
Right.
I wouldn't have even thought about Harbaugh. I wouldn't have thought about Quinn. I wouldn't have thought about nobody.
Like Quinn made the most sense until then.
Yes, until this moment.
Yeah.
Until the moment of the press conference where he broke that down. Like,
really? Like if I had known this,
dude was playing.
If I had known this, dude, the 2 reliable options were still just going to be Peyton and Quinn, but Peyton is the front runner.
He coached his boss. He coached the guy that hired him.
That's great.
Tell me that George Payton doesn't know what he's doing again. And then speaking of,
and I totally forgot he was a college quarterback.
Right, because of how far back they both were. That's another connection they have. They were both college quarterbacks, undersized college quarterbacks, and they have an undersized quarterback. Like they have a type.
Can we get all the trash talking of George Payton out of here now, dude? I can't stop reading comments about it because people just don't know the man's actually done great things.
Right, and everybody still wants to question who's got the power. Well, here, Sean Payton will tell you exactly how this works.
So George and I first had a chance to meet then in L.A. For the last 3 days, probably worn a track out back and forth to each other's offices, and I feel the same way. I feel like I've got good instincts, and I feel like there's a demeanor with him that reminds me of Mickey in a good way, a very steady. And I've always respected the teams he's been a part of. I mean, Mike Zimmer and I, who was the head coach at Minnesota and spent a lot of time with George, Zimmer and I were under Parcells at Dallas. So it's a small industry, but particularly in our case. And and I think we hit it off kind of right away. And so there's, we're similar. My first game that I ever was involved in a coach, I was a graduate assistant at San Diego State. It was 1988. I'll never forget. It was at the Rose Bowl. San Diego State versus UCLA Bruins. Troy Aikman was a senior on that team. What year were you?
Redshirt freshman.
George Payton. It's spelled like Patton, but George Payton. George Payton was on the field in that game as a redshirt freshman. And what I remember about that game, I don't think Troy Aikman had a ball touch the ground. They beat us 40-some odd points to 3. But I just couldn't get over how great it felt to be on the sidelines as a coach. Mind you, I was a GA. I was getting Gatorade or sandwiches. But I'll never forget that first game.
That's how far back these two go.
I just love the story about Troy Aikman. That just makes me laugh. Like prime Troy Aikman was an animal, dude.
Oh, at UCLA, I mean, there's a reason he was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
At UCLA, he was the next
UCLA in the 80s.
And he went off and won 3 Super Bowls with Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. So, I mean,
those are some
they weren't
crazy
wrong.
good teams.
Yeah, I mean, we can still have our consternations about whether or not Troy Aikman belongs in the Hall of Fame with his, but hey, overall, dude, great quarter. And as a college quarterback, dude.
And he's getting even better as a color commentator. That's been like my preferred group this year was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman because you can tell they were having fun at ESPN.
Right.
They're happy to be away from Fox.
They're so old at this point. They just got to the point they don't care anymore.
Right? And then they were like,
we're just gonna have a good
Fox
time
for ESPN for a lot of money. Like hell of money, and we're just gonna go call games.
We ain't worried about nothing.
Dude, that was my favorite commentator group because Al Michaels got on my nerve because he just complained the whole time this season.
He's a bit whiny. He really was.
I mean, Tony Romo was just off this year.
They had to have an intervention. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah,
and he was off this year, and we already know, dude. Jim Nance is just gonna.
Lazy. How about
Jim
that?
Nance just loves Patrick Mahomes, like Chris Collinsworth and Tony Romo.
Right.
It was like, dude,
how about them pulling back to the days of when people were ripping Tony Romo for going to Cancun during a bye week?
Yeah, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Right. But
that guy was still throwing tutties, dude. That guy was still like prime Dallas quarterback.
Right. Sorry, before we wrap things up here real quick, I got one last video I just want to give y'all. This is, again, Sean Payton talking about this. He got a question about the itch to come back to coaching, and I just really like this response, and I thought y'all would like it too. So here we go.
That's the fun part. Like, that's why we do this. And so the banners and the trophies and the media and the money, those all come with it. But the journey, and here's what happens when you win one. It's like you have that evening, and then the very next day you get right back on the treadmill and you start chasing the chicken again. It begins again. And so it's hard to replace that when you're removed from it. And so for a year working with Fox, man, I couldn't wait for Sundays. That was my football fix. That was the day that I got to at least get a little bit of what I've been missing. My clothes I'd lay out the night before. I was the first one in. I'd wear them out. Questions. And, I had the morning show with Carissa. She was fantastic. I did the second show, rotated with Jimmy Johnson, Bill and Eric Shanks, the whole crew there. They were so fantastic. And then sit in the green room and watch 8 TV screens and basically watch a whole day of football. The first round of games, the second round of games, 5 a.m., and then go home at 5:30. And regardless of how my narrative worked out, whether I'd predicted things that were happening, whether I had a good day, what have you, you drive home and there's nothing that replaced the feeling of winning. It just didn't. And so off in the distance, I use this analogy. It was a little bit like that racetrack that you could smell the gasoline, you heard the cars running, you could see the lights, you knew you were there, and you know what there is like. It's hectic, it's loud, it's busy, it's noisy, it's not always fun. There's challenging times, there's losses, there's wins. But every day you'd look and you'd hear it and you're thinking, man, I can't wait to get back.
I want to bring up 2 things here. There's a clip I should have had you cut together when you were texting me about that. I completely blanked in my mind. When he was talking about the media, he was like, I'm sure that a lot of the Saints media called you or told me that they wanted me to be hard on you guys just as much as I was hard on them. I want them to be.
Yes,
Get them in check,
please.
damn it.
Good Lord, yes, please.
Go
Thank
off
you.
on Mike Kliss, dude.
Somebody like I don't think he'll ever do it the way that we would like to see it. He
But not
did
Zach
a little bit
Stevens.
of it.
Zach Stevens
He
is
did
a
a little
gem.
bit of it today, talking about, I know y'all have a job to do, but I don't know what. Like he came at the media a couple of ways.
Yeah.
He just does it very politically.
But not our boy
correct.
Zach Stevens. That man's a gem in the community right now.
Yes.
His question was really good, talking about the D'Amico stuff. I really like that question.
Yeah, and I love how he debunked that. Like everybody, like the way that George Penner and George Payton both debunked that. They're like, we heard that y'all. Can you talk on the report that they had went and tried to get D'Amico Ryans again before just
And Greg,
settling?
dude,
Like you
before he
settle on
could
Sean
even
Payton. Who settles on Sean freaking
Right?
Payton? Okay,
Dude.
number one.
So stupid. I love that.
Right, and number two is like, dude, like, why do y'all do this? Like,
Right.
how bad are you at creating content about coming up with the ideas that you gotta make stuff up? There's so much to talk about.
That was the one
side
side I sided with Schefter, dude. Those two conflicting tweets.
We've had 2 straight shows that we didn't get the full rundown in because we're talking about everything else.
Yeah.
This is the second consecutive show. We're going to have a full 20 minutes of content that we didn't get to because of all this other stuff to talk about. There is always something to talk about. You don't have to make stuff up.
And the other thing was when he talks about, it's like, I like the analogy he said. It's like hopping on the treadmill to go chase a chicken again. Like after winning the Super Bowl, next day it starts.
All
It's like catching a high, dude. It's like catching that first high. And you just got to keep
you're
going
always
for it.
chasing that high again. Exactly.
And that's why I loved that analogy, because I was just like, yeah, you're just going to go catch that high. You got to keep going for it. And that's what he's going to do. We have him until 2020 through 2027.
Yeah. It's the reason I labeled that last one Sean Payton on the itch. It's an obsession. It's an addiction. Like it's exactly.
The Tyrone. Exactly. What was the character? What was the Chappelle character? Tyrone.
Yes. Was it Tyrone? I don't think it was Tyrone.
Was it Tyrone? No.
Oh, yes, I know who you're talking about. Chappelle crackhead character. Tyrone Biggum. You were right.
Tyrone Biggums.
Yes, Tyrone Biggums.
I gotta head out actually. So
no, you're good. I was about to wrap it up anyways. So yeah, my guy Dylan, he's gonna be up out of here. That's the end of our shows. What we got to talk about today. We will be back again next week to talk about your Denver Broncos. As always, go down, check, follow, subscribe, bell notifications. You know what to do. Hit all the red buttons, launch all the nukes, clear the way so we can bring you the news the way you deserve it. And as always, for the Answers 42 and Breakin Broncos podcast, I'm your host, Dan Wetstein. That's Dylan Miles. Don't question the blue.